Hey, everyone, and welcome back to English Listen and Learn. I'm Ben, and I'm excited to be here with you all today.
And I'm Anna, always delighted to be joining you, Ben.
Today, we're diving into something that I know a lot of you out there struggle with, that feeling of nervousness when it comes to speaking English.
It's so natural. I think everyone, no matter their language level, has felt that little, flutter of anxiety when they're about to speak.
It's like your brain forgets all the words it knows, and your tongue feels tied in knots.
Exactly. You've been studying, you understand the concepts, but then the moment arrives to actually, speak, and it feels like you hit a brick wall.
Exactly. So today, we're going to unpack this whole experience. We're going to understand why it happens, and most importantly, equip you with some practical strategies to overcome those nerves and speak English with more confidence.
Think of this as your toolkit for tackling those butterflies and finding your voice.
I love that, Anna. So let's start by addressing the elephant in the room. Why do we even get nervous in the first place? What's going on in our brains when we're about to speak a new language?
Well, Ben, imagine your brain as a high-performance athlete, getting ready for a big race. It's buzzing with activity, trying to coordinate a ton of different skills at once, finding the right words and constructing grammatically sound sentences and nailing the pronunciation and, oh yeah, remembering what you actually want to say.
Wow, that's quite the mental workout. No wonder we feel a bit overwhelmed.
It really is. Your brain is doing mental gymnastics while running a marathon, and your body, sensing all this activity, kicks into that primal fight-or-flight mode.
The infamous fight-or-flight response. So that explains the racing heart, the sweaty palms, and maybe even a trembling voice.
Exactly. Think about it like back in the caveman days, this response was essential for survival. If you encountered a saber-toothed tiger, your body needed to be ready to either fight it or run away fast.
Thankfully, we're not facing any saber-toothed tigers when we speak English. But our bodies haven't quite caught up with modern times. They still react as if speaking a new language is a life-or-death situation.
Right. But here's the good news. Just like any other skill, the more you practice dealing with this response, the easier it gets. Remember the first time you rode a bike? Wobbly, stary, maybe a few scrapes and bruises?
Oh, I remember it vividly. I was terrified of falling.
But with practice, it became second nature, right? You didn't even have to think about it anymore. Speaking English is similar. The more you do it, the less those nerves will control you.
So step one in our confidence-building journey is simply recognizing that these nerves are a natural part of the process. It's okay to feel them. It doesn't mean you're not cut out for speaking English.
Absolutely. In fact, it's a sign that you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and that's where the real growth happens.
Think about it. Even incredibly accomplished people have experienced this. Malala Yousafzai, for example, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate who advocates for girls' education worldwide.
Such an inspiration. And even she has shared that she initially felt nervous about public speaking in English, especially since her native language is Pashto.
It's amazing to think that someone like Malala, who has faced incredible challenges, also gets those butterflies before speaking a new language. It really puts things into perspective.
It just goes to show that it's a universal experience, Ben. And like Malala, we can overcome it by focusing on the message we want to share rather than getting bogged down by the fear of making mistakes.
That's such an important point, Anna. Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to be perfect that we forget the real goal: to communicate, to connect, and to share our ideas with the world.
And you know what? Mistakes are not the enemy. They are actually valuable opportunities to learn and grow.
This is where I think a lot of us, myself included, get stuck. We're so afraid of making mistakes, of sounding silly, that we hold ourselves back from speaking.
I totally understand that feeling, Ben. But imagine if we could shift our perspective. What if we saw mistakes not as failures, but as stepping stones on our path to fluency?
It's like reframing those stumbles as feedback, as signposts pointing us in the right direction.
Exactly. Every time you make a mistake, your brain is actually learning and adjusting. It's like a little course correction on your journey to becoming a more confident speaker.
So it's actually good to make mistakes. Who have thought? It's like those unexpected detours on a road trip that sometimes lead you to the most amazing hidden gems.
I love that analogy, Ben. And, we have a fantastic example of someone who embraced mistakes and turned them into a strength. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Talk about overcoming challenges, moving to a new country, breaking into Hollywood, all while learning a new language. That's incredible.
Absolutely. When he first arrived in the U.S. from Austria, he had a thick accent and limited English vocabulary. But instead of letting that hold him back, he embraced his unique way of speaking.
He didn't try to hide his accent or shy away from speaking. He owned it and it became part of his charm and charisma.
Right, and that's a powerful reminder to all of us. What we perceive as flaws can actually become our strengths.
It's about owning our unique journey and not being afraid to let our personality shine through.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger is a perfect example of someone who adopted what we call a growth mindset. It's this belief that we can constantly learn and improve, that challenges are opportunities for growth, and that mistakes are just part of the process.
Okay, so we've established that nervousness is normal and mistakes are our friends in disguise. But now comes the big question. How do we actually get better at speaking English? Where do we even begin?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it, Ben? And the answer, as you might have guessed, is practice, practice, practice.
Practice, practice, practice. We hear it all the time, but it can still feel daunting. It's like, where do I even find the time and the opportunities to practice?
I hear you, Ben. And that's why it's important to find ways to practice that feel comfortable and enjoyable for you. You don't have to jump into high-pressure situations right away.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to give a presentation in front of a huge audience on day one.
Definitely not. Start small in low-pressure environments where you feel safe to experiment, make mistakes, and just have fun with the language.
Like finding a language exchange partner. I've heard that can be a great way to practice in a relaxed setting.
Absolutely. Imagine connecting with someone from another country who is also learning your native language. You can help each other practice, share cultural insights, and maybe even form a lasting friendship.
That sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off, and you get to learn about a different culture at the same time.
And there are so many other ways to practice regularly. You can talk to yourself. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but it actually works. You can record yourself speaking and listen back to identify areas for improvement, or even practice common scenarios like ordering food at a restaurant.
Those are all great ideas. And the key here is consistency, right? Making English practice a regular part of our routine.
Yes, even dedicating just 10 or 15 minutes each day can make a huge difference over time. It's about building a habit and gradually increasing your comfort level with speaking.
So it's like going to the gym for our language skills. The more we work those muscles, the stronger they become.
Exactly. And speaking of working those muscles, let's talk about another crucial aspect of conquering nervousness: mindset.
Okay, let's talk mindset. What role does our mindset play in all of this? I mean, we can practice all we want, but if we're filled with self-doubt, will it really make a difference?
That's a great question, Ben. And the answer is yes, absolutely. Our mindset is incredibly powerful. It can either help us soar to new heights or hold us back from reaching our full potential.
So how do we cultivate a more positive and confident mindset when it comes to speaking English? Any tips or tricks you can share?
There are some incredibly effective techniques we can borrow from athletes and performers. One of them is visualization.
Visualization. I've heard athletes use this technique, but how does it apply to speaking a new language?
It's all about harnessing the power of your imagination, Ben. Imagine yourself speaking English confidently and fluently in specific situations. Picture yourself ordering coffee with ease, giving a presentation without a stutter, or having a lively conversation with a native speaker.
So it's like mental rehearsal for real-life conversations. I could see how that could be helpful.
Exactly. And studies have shown that visualization can actually reduce anxiety and improve performance. It's like giving your brain a sneak peek of success, helping it create new neural pathways that support confident speaking.
That's fascinating. It's almost like tricking our brains into feeling more confident.
In a way, yes. And alongside visualization, positive affirmations can be incredibly powerful tools in rewiring our thinking patterns.
Affirmations, those little pep talks we give ourselves. Do those really work?
They absolutely can. Instead of letting those negative thoughts like, I'm not good enough or I'm going to mess this up, take over. Try repeating positive phrases like, I'm improving every day, I can communicate effectively, or I'm proud of my progress.
I can see how shifting our internal dialogue from negative to positive could make a huge difference in how we feel about ourselves and our ability to speak English.
It's like planting seeds of positivity in your mind. The more you nurture those thoughts, the more they'll grow and blossom into genuine confidence.
I love that analogy. It's about consciously choosing to focus on our strengths and our potential rather than dwelling on our perceived weaknesses.
And you know what, Ben? I think it's crucial to remember that the ultimate goal of language is communication, not perfection.
That's a great point. Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to get the grammar perfect, pronounce every word flawlessly, that we forget the bigger picture.
We get lost in the details and lose sight of the joy of connecting with others, sharing ideas, and experiencing the world through the lens of a new language.
It's like getting so focused on painting every blade of grass perfectly that we forget to step back and appreciate the beauty of the entire landscape.
I love that analogy, Ben. And native speakers don't expect perfection either. They're more interested in understanding your message, connecting with you as a person, and appreciating your effort to communicate in their language.
They want to hear your story, your perspective, your unique voice.
And sometimes even simple phrases and gestures can be enough to get your point across. Think about it. You can travel to many countries and communicate basic needs with smiles, nods, and pointing.
It's like that universal language of human connection that transcends words. And remember, even native speakers make mistakes. They stumble over words, mispronounce things, have to rephrase their thoughts. It's all part of being human.
That's so reassuring to hear, Anna. It takes the pressure off us learners to be perfect right out of the gate.
Exactly. And those little imperfections, those quirks in our speech, can actually make our communication more engaging and memorable. Think about some of your favorite actors or comedians. Their unique accents and speech patterns often contribute to their charm. That's true. I never thought about it that way. So embracing those little quirks can actually enhance our communication rather than detract from it.
Absolutely. It adds personality and authenticity to our speaking.
Speaking of personality, I think a great example of someone who embraced his unique way of speaking is Jackie Chan.
Oh, Jackie Chan. What a legend. He's such a great example of someone who overcame language barriers to achieve incredible success in Hollywood.
I can only imagine the challenges he faced, especially early in his career, trying to communicate with directors, actors, and fans in a new language.
He definitely had to work hard and persevere. He took English classes, practiced constantly, and never gave up on his dream.
And he did it all with his signature charisma and humor.
Exactly. He didn't let the fear of making mistakes hold him back. He embraced his unique style of communication, and it became part of his charm.
So Jackie Chan's story is a great reminder that we don't have to sound like native speakers to be successful communicators. It's about finding our own voice and expressing ourselves authentically.
Beautifully said, Ben. And his story also highlights the power of finding inspiration and support from others. Having a network of people who understand your challenges and cheer you on can make a world of difference.
Speaking of support, I think that's a great place to transition to our next topic, the power of community in language learning.
Absolutely. It's like having a cheerleading squad for your English-speaking journey.
Because let's face it, learning a language can feel like a solo mission sometimes. You're putting in the effort facing those challenges, and it's easy to feel isolated.
It can be a real roller coaster ride, Ben. And that's where finding your tribe comes in. Surrounding yourself with people who understand your struggles, celebrate your wins, and encourage you to keep going can be a game changer.
So where can people find these supportive communities? What are some practical steps they could take?
Well, there are so many options. You could join a local language class, for example. It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah, I've always thought about joining a language class. It seems like a great way to meet other people who are in the same boat, so to speak.
Exactly. You can practice speaking in a structured environment, get feedback from a qualified teacher, and maybe even make some new friends along the way.
It's like having a built-in support system right from the start.
And if you're looking for something a bit more flexible, online forums and social media groups can be fantastic resources.
I've heard of those. There are tons of online communities dedicated to English language learning. You can connect with people from all over the world, share tips and resources, and even practice speaking through video calls or voice chats.
It's like having a virtual study group at your fingertips.
And if you're looking for a more structured approach to practicing speaking in front of an audience, Toastmasters International is a great option.
Toastmasters. It's a global organization that helps people develop their public speaking and leadership skills.
I've heard great things about it. It's known for its supportive and encouraging environment.
Exactly. Members give each other constructive feedback and support each other's growth. It's a safe space to practice, experiment, and build confidence.
It's like a gym for your public speaking muscles.
What a great analogy, Ben. And it's not just about giving formal speeches. Toastmasters also provides opportunities to practice impromptu speaking lead meetings and develop those all-important communication skills that will serve you well in all areas of life.
So no matter where you are on your English-speaking journey, from complete beginner to more experienced speaker, there's a supportive community out there waiting for you.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to reach out, connect with others, and find your tribe. It will make your language learning adventure so much more enjoyable and rewarding.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, from the science behind nervousness to practical tips for building confidence and finding support. What's the key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with, Anna?
That's a great question, Ben. I think the biggest takeaway is this. Conquering nervousness isn't about eliminating it altogether. It's about learning to manage it, to dance with it, to even harness it, to fuel our growth.
That's such a powerful way to put it. It's like those butterflies in our stomach are a sign that we're pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zones, that we're stepping into the unknown and embracing the challenge.
Exactly. And that's where the magic happens. When we challenge ourselves, we grow, we learn, we become more confident, and that confidence spills over into all areas of our lives, not just our English speaking.
It's like a ripple effect, starting with that first brave step of speaking up, even when we feel nervous.
Beautifully said, Ben.
This has been such an inspiring conversation, Anna. I'm feeling energized and motivated to keep practicing and improving my English speaking, even when those nerves try to creep in.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you, Ben, and with all of our wonderful listeners.
I think we've only scratched the surface of this topic. There's so much more to explore.
You're right, Ben. There's always more to learn and discover.
So how about we take a little break to let all this wonderful information sink in? We'll be back in a jiffy to delve even deeper into the world of conquering English-speaking nervousness. Stay tuned.
Sounds great, Ben. Let's take a quick pause and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving right back into our exploration of conquering those English-speaking nerves.
I'm ready to keep learning, Anna. What other nuggets of wisdom do you have for us today?
Well, Ben, before the break, we were talking about the importance of community and finding those cheerleaders who will support you on your language learning journey.
It's so important to have that support system, especially when those self-doubt monsters start to creep in.
Exactly. But there's another powerful source of inspiration that we can tap into. Role models.
Role models. Those individuals who have walked the path before us and achieved incredible things.
Exactly. Their stories can provide valuable insights, motivation, and a little extra push we sometimes need to keep going.
It's like having a mentor cheering you on from the sidelines saying, "You can do it. I believe in you."
And one incredible role model who immediately comes to mind is, of course, Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan. Yes. We talked about him earlier as an example of someone who embraced his unique way of speaking. But he's also a great example of someone who overcame significant language barriers to achieve international success.
Absolutely. Did you know that when he first started working in Hollywood, he struggled quite a bit with English?
Really? I had no idea. He always seemed so confident and comfortable speaking English in interviews and movies.
It's a testament to his hard work and dedication, Ben. Behind that charisma and humor is a story of perseverance and a refusal to let language be a barrier to his dreams.
So he didn't let the initial challenges hold him back. He embraced the learning process and kept pushing forward.
Exactly. He took English classes, practiced diligently, and never gave up on his goal of connecting with a global audience.
It's amazing how he turned what could have been a major setback into a stepping stone to even greater success.
His story is a powerful reminder that with determination, a positive attitude, and a willingness to put in the effort, we can achieve anything we set our minds to, regardless of the obstacles we might face.
And it's not just about achieving fame and fortune, right? It's about the personal satisfaction of expanding our horizons, connecting with people from different cultures, and experiencing the world in a whole new way.
That's beautifully said, Ben. Language learning is about so much more than just acquiring vocabulary and grammar rules. It's about opening doors to new experiences, new perspectives, and new possibilities.
It's like learning a secret code that unlocks a whole new world of adventures and connections.
And speaking of unlocking possibilities, let's circle back to the importance of finding that supportive community. We touched on it briefly earlier, but I think it deserves a bit more attention.
I agree. Having a network of people who understand your challenges, celebrate your wins, and offer encouragement along the way can make a world of difference.
It's like having a safety net when you're learning to walk a tightrope. It provides that sense of security and support that allows you to take risks, push your boundaries, and ultimately soar to new heights.
So where can people find these supportive communities? What are some practical steps they can take?
Well, one great option is to join a local language class. It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah, I've always been curious about language classes. It seems like a natural way to meet other learners, practice speaking in a structured environment, and get feedback from a qualified teacher.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the social aspect. You can form friendships with people who share your passion for language learning and support each other's growth.
It's like having a built-in support system right from the start.
And if you're looking for something a bit more flexible, online forums and social media groups can be fantastic resources.
Oh yeah, those online communities are incredible. You can connect with people from all over the world, share tips and resources, and even practice speaking through video calls or voice chats.
It's like having a virtual study group at your fingertips, available 24/7.
And if you're looking for a more structured approach to practicing speaking in front of an audience, Toastmasters International is an excellent option.
Ah, Toastmasters. We mentioned it earlier, but it's worth reiterating. It's a global organization that helps people develop their public speaking and leadership skills.
I've heard so many great things about Toastmasters. It's known for its supportive and encouraging environment where people can practice speaking without fear of judgment.
Exactly. Members give each other constructive feedback, support each other's growth, and celebrate each other's successes.
It's like a gym for your public speaking muscles.
What a great analogy, Ben. And it's not just about giving formal speeches. Toastmasters also provides opportunities to practice impromptu speaking lead meetings and develop those all-important communication skills that will serve you well in all areas of life.
So no matter where you are on your English speaking journey, from complete beginner to more experienced speaker, there's a supportive community out there waiting for you.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to reach out, connect with others, and find your tribe. It will make your language learning adventure so much more enjoyable and rewarding.
So we've explored a lot of different strategies for conquering those English speaking nerves.
Mm.
But I think it all boils down to a few key principles. Wouldn't you agree, Anna?
I completely agree, Ben. It's about shifting our perspective, embracing the challenges, and focusing on the joy of communication.
It's about remembering that perfection is not the goal. The goal is to connect, to share, to express ourselves authentically, even if it's not always grammatically perfect or flawlessly pronounced.
Exactly. It's about letting go of the fear of making mistakes and embracing those imperfections that make us human and make our communication more engaging and relatable.
And it's about remembering that we are not alone on this journey. There are so many people out there who have faced the same challenges, overcome those hurdles, and found their voice.
And their stories can inspire us, motivate us, and remind us that we too can achieve anything we set our minds to.
So let's embrace the journey with all its ups and downs. Let's celebrate every small victory along the way, and let's never stop believing in ourselves and our ability to communicate with confidence and joy.
Beautifully said, Ben. Now, speaking of celebrating victories, I think it's important to acknowledge not just the mental and emotional aspects of conquering nervousness, but also the physical side of things.
Well, that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about the physical aspect. What do you mean by that?
Well, Ben, our bodies and minds are intricately connected. How we feel physically can have a huge impact on how we think and feel emotionally.
That makes sense. So what can we do to physically prepare ourselves for speaking English with confidence?
One simple but powerful technique is to pay attention to our posture.
Posture, really? How does our posture play a role in speaking a new language?
Think about it. When we stand or sit up straight, we project an image of confidence and self-assurance.
It's like we're telling the world, I'm here, I'm present, and I have something valuable to say.
Exactly. And it's not just about appearances. Good posture actually helps us breathe more deeply.
Which in turn calms our nerves and helps us think more clearly.
Precisely. It's a win-win situation.
So before we launch into an English conversation, we can take a moment to check our posture, stand tall, roll those shoulders back, and breathe deeply.
Exactly. And don't forget to smile. A genuine smile can instantly make you feel more relaxed, approachable, and confident.
It's like a signal to ourselves and to others that we're open to communication, connection, and perhaps even a little bit of laughter along the way.
And you know, Ben, sometimes a little bit of nervous energy can actually be a good thing.
Really? How so? I always thought of nervousness as something to be avoided at all costs.
Well, think of it this way. That adrenaline rush, that heightened sense of awareness, it can actually give us that extra boost of energy and enthusiasm that we need to deliver a captivating presentation or engage in a lively conversation.
It's like that adrenaline rush that helps athletes perform at their best.
Yeah.
It's about channeling that energy into something positive and productive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to suppress those nerves, we can learn to acknowledge them, accept them, and even use them to our advantage.
That's a brilliant perspective. It's about reframing our relationship with nervousness and seeing it as a potential ally rather than an enemy.
And you know what, Ben? Even if our voices tremble a little or we stumble over a few words, those imperfections can actually make us more relatable and authentic.
It's like those cracks in a pottery piece that make it unique and beautiful.
What a beautiful analogy, Ben. It's those imperfections that give us character and depth.
So let's embrace our imperfections, our nerves, and our unique ways of expressing ourselves in English.
Let's celebrate the journey, the challenges, and the triumphs, knowing that every step we take brings us closer to fluency and confidence.
And let's keep striving to communicate with clarity, with confidence, and most importantly, with joy.
Because that's what language learning is all about. Connecting with others, sharing our stories, and experiencing the world in a whole new way.
I love that sentiment, Anna. It's about embracing the journey, the imperfections, and the joy of connecting with others through language.
Exactly, Ben. And as we wrap up our deep dive into conquering English-speaking nervousness, I think it's important to distill all these wonderful insights into a few key takeaways.
Yes, let's recap those golden nuggets of wisdom for our listeners.
Well, first and foremost, remember that nervousness is a natural part of the process. It doesn't mean you're not good at English or that you're not cut out for speaking it.
It's like that feeling of excitement before a roller coaster ride. It's a sign that you're about to embark on something thrilling and transformative.
Exactly. And just like with a roller coaster, the initial fear often gives way to exhilaration and a sense of accomplishment once you've taken the plunge.
So embrace those butterflies, those jitters, those moments of self-doubt. They're simply reminders that you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and that you're on the path to growth.
And speaking of growth, remember that mistakes are not the enemy. They are valuable opportunities to learn, adjust, and improve.
It's like those wrong turns on a road trip that sometimes lead to unexpected and amazing discoveries.
I love that analogy, Ben. So instead of beating yourself up for those little stumbles, embrace them as feedback, as stepping stones on your path to fluency.
And remember, even native speakers make mistakes. It's all part of being human.
Exactly. So give yourself permission to be imperfect, to experiment, to play with the language, and to have fun with the learning process.
And speaking of fun, remember to find ways to practice that bring you joy and excitement.
Whether it's finding a language exchange partner, joining an online community, or simply talking to yourself in the mirror, make it a habit to engage with the language in ways that feel good to you.
And don't forget the power of mindset. Visualize yourself speaking confidently. Repeat positive affirmations and surround yourself with supportive people who believe in your ability to succeed.
It's like creating a positive feedback loop that reinforces your confidence and propels you forward on your language learning journey.
And remember, the ultimate goal is not perfection, but connection.
It's about sharing your ideas, your stories, your unique perspective with the world, even if it's not always grammatically flawless or perfectly pronounced.
It's about embracing those imperfections that make us human and make our communication more engaging and authentic.
So keep practicing, keep learning, keep believing in yourself, and most importantly, keep having fun.
This has been such an insightful and inspiring conversation, Anna. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on conquering English-speaking nervousness.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you, Ben, and with all of our wonderful listeners.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of language learning, and we'll see you next time for another fascinating conversation about English.
Until then, keep those conversations flowing, those connections growing, and those confidence levels soaring.
That's it for this episode of English Listen and
Thanks for
Learn.
watching.
Thanks
Until
for
next
tuning in.
time.